Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Berry Robinson and friends. Seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. The In My Opinion Show is also seen on Comcast Cable Television, Channel 17, Flint, Michigan, every Saturday at 6 p.m. and Wednesday at 8:30. The In My Opinion Show is also seen on Comcast Cable Channel 68, Detroit. Please consult your community calendar. For those watching in the Genesee County area, the show is on right now on channel Comcast 17. Please tune in. We're going to have a very wonderful show. We have Mr. Henry Hatter. Welcome to the In My Opinion.
Thank you, Ron.
Mr. Hatter.
Welcome.
Very capable co-host.
Thank you.
And we have a very capable technical staff. And our hellos go out. Our hellos and greetings go out to our millions of viewers worldwide. We're going to talk about your thoughts and our thoughts on gays and lesbians and the Girl Scout, Boy Scouts of America, including group leaders. Should they be denied or admitted? To deny, is it discriminatory? What is your thoughts, Mr. Hatter?
Well, Ron, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts were created many years ago. And they were created as the organizations with a difference of gender, which was at that time thought to be a very harmless event. The organizations were intended to protect the innocent young men and women from harm and to teach them the skills of leading a productive and well-lived life. But as time went on, unfortunately, there were those who were didn't see this as a goal worthwhile of their own interest, and they were condescending and subversive, and who were undetected by people who created these organizations, the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. So as a result, when this was all disclosed by those who practiced the clergy, and irrespective of the denomination, who had done horrendous acts unfavorable to young boys and girls that have hurt their innocence. And as a result, the public then had an overwhelming reaction to these individuals. There's no doubt that someday that we will be overcome by the public's will to change this and make sure that gays and lesbians and transgender people are also admitted. But right now, the jury is out. And we need to figure out how we preserve this way of life for boys and girls that were intended to fulfill the expected goals of the early days, which was a great life for boys and girls who would be taught by people of their peer group who would teach them great things about living a wholesome, quality life. So, yeah, I don't see this as being something that we need to transfer overnight, but I do think it's coming in the end. I think that people will require that transgender and all of the other people of different behaviors must be included in the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. But right now, we're not there.
Well, I certainly hope that that one day that that we do get there. And I understand also the concern that that a lot of parents and people in general in society has in reference to Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. You know what I mean? Being admitted, but we live in the 21st century. Okay, we've got same-sex partner relationships. In a number of states, they're allowed to get married. Okay, we've had homosexual activity, if you call it that. You know what I mean? Throughout history. Okay, from early before the biblical times. You would hope that you would want to. You would hope that we want to keep our children safe, okay, from harm, but that's impossible in the times that we live in right now. You do your best to protect them, okay, and I'm sure the vast majority, all right, of Scout leaders, okay, would not harm, these children. Okay, I was in the Boy Scouts myself, Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. I enjoyed it myself, okay, but we weren't faced with, what society is being faced with today. All right, it was a totally different, totally different generation. I think, a lot more wholesome. But who am I to criticize? Some would call it progressive, some would call it unprogressive. But as you said, the time is coming where gays, lesbians, bisexual, and transgender people, they're going to be allowed to join these organizations. That's just, that's just the way it is. All right.
But Ron, it's amazing. It's the impact that such behavior have on individuals, young people. Mm-hmm. They go through an experience like that, and it disrupts their life for a lifetime.
But let's take this to another level now, or another step. What about all this pedophilia, that has occurred throughout history, and of late these churches and so forth? It's not just in the Catholic Church, but it's in all of those churches. Okay? So,
should underage kids undergo such exposure and impacts?
No, they shouldn't.
People who take advantage of them because of their age or their tenderness or their innocence.
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be taken advantage of.
How do you propose to engage people with a behavior that practice this behavior, and at the same time protect those who should never go through such an experience? That is the question.
Well, the ones that
how do you know when it's going to happen?
You don't, and that's the sad part about it.
How do you protect the kids under those circumstances?
You try to teach them the best you can as a responsible parent. All right, teach them from wrong, from right. Like my daughter, I tell her at least once or twice a week, if anybody touches you, you let us know, right? You let us know. It's not that you've done anything wrong, okay? But we want to know, because that's our job to protect you, okay? And and expose those ones that that have negative behavior, because you've got the internet. Oh my goodness, you've got all kinds of vehicles out there now. You know what I mean? And you have these perverts, out there just waiting for victims. You see it every day. Okay, but parental responsibility, is a big thing. Okay, these children didn't ask to get here, but when they get here, protect them.
Ron, one of the saddest things, and for a long time, I didn't take a lot of stake to what a lot of women were saying, because some may have been themselves devious or
molested.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I hear some of the stories of young people who have been molested, whether they are boys or girls, and then I try to put myself in the same situation, would I go through life feeling embarrassed, not worthy for any cause?
Well, of course, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Your health, your well-being, your mental capacities. If you're molested, absolutely.
Well, those are the kind of things that I am concerned about. I don't think that any child should ever go through that, boy or girl. And we need to try to protect our kids from that kind of action by avoiding it in the first place. And I know that we don't have the answer. I don't have the answer yet. What we should do in a circumstance where you have a gay man leading a Boy Scouts troop or a gay woman. I just don't know. I don't know how you. But I think that there has to be some standards or criteria for them to be able to work in that capacity. But just to turn them out just because they are gays or lesbian in the midst of the chicken coop, I would say no.
Exactly, and in many cases, all right, which has been documented, all right, these young girls and boys, all right, that's in many ways that's their physical makeup. You know what I mean? From what I understand, I'm certainly not a medical person, a psychologist, but you know. They were born, all right, in the wrong body, okay. I don't know. I'm not a professional in that field, okay. But to deny them because their preference is different than yours or mine, I think that's a civil rights issue, okay. These people, and mark my words, all right. They'll probably be the Supreme Court, because that's where it's going to wind up. The Supreme Court is probably going to say, you have to admit it. You have to admit them, okay? Because it's a constitutional question, okay? And
those people must have the same rights under the law. I realize that. But in this circumstance where people are endangered because it impacts the rest of their lives, have you ever done something illegal, immoral, and you felt guilty about it?
Illegal, but not immoral.
Let's say
that
you might have picked up something that wasn't yours. You might have broken out a window. You might have, had illicit sexual behavior with other women, let's say.
Not minors.
Well, have you
actually
ever
not adults either. You know what I mean? It's always been consenting.
Yeah, but it drives a sense of guilt because it's wrong. It's wrong by law and it's wrong by the religion that we follow. Have you ever had that experience?
No, I don't
Well,
think
most
I don't
men
think
do.
I
I'm not
really
saying
probably
that I've had the experience, but I know what it means to do something that's illegal, or when you lie about something.
Okay, now we all lie.
We all lie.
Of course.
And do you feel guilty? If you don't feel guilty, this is the wrong conversation for us.
Right, I'm sure.
But I'm trying to apply this to what happens to a young man or young woman when they're engaged in this kind of activity, or forced to engage in this kind of activity, how it impacts them for a lifetime.
Of course.
Sense of guilt.
I know a family, all right, that this boyfriend came on the scene when there was 4 young ladies, when they were babies, okay, 3 or 4 or 5 years old, okay, and all 4, this pervert, all right, allegedly, I have to use that word allegedly. It's not the word I want to use, but this pervert, he molested all 4 of those young girls. You know what I mean? And these girls suffer to this day. Okay? And they're in their 50s.
Is this the incident that happened in London about 10 or 12? No, it couldn't have been.
No.
But are you aware of the one where the father had children by his daughters?
I don't know if it was London, but I've read several times.
Holly, maybe. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That some joker, impregnated his daughters. You know what I mean? And that's horrendous. He should be.
I know
he should be electrocuted. You know
we're
what I
slightly
mean?
off the subject because this is not. But it's the
But no, we
kind of
are on
event-
the subject because you
Okay.
asked about, you know,
Yeah.
the
guilt.
the
Yeah,
guilt
yeah.
and you know, and the mental health issues.
sure.
You know what I mean? That come from that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And these girls, I mean, they're devastated. They're 50 in their 50s, and this happened when they were 5 and 4, 5 and 6. Okay, and if that wasn't the end of it, okay. They went to live with their grandmothers at their grandmother's house, and I'll be damned if the uncle didn't get involved in this in these heinous things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't learn about this till much later, in my life. But and I know damn well they had to know something, okay? And how you allow your mother, and how the mother allowed this shit to happen. You know what I mean? She should be in prison herself.
Yeah, and I think
You know
our
what I mean?
audience thinks that we're off the subject, but I don't think so. Because what we're trying
We're talking
to
about
get
mental
at,
states.
how young people are impacted by this kind of activity. When they're young and they're intended to follow great rules, that's good and healthy and wholesome for young people as they're growing up, and then to be able to suffer from these kind of incidents. And that's what we're trying to get at, how people feel about incidents where this happens. And I think the best, since we've never had seen an incident inside the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, and we don't even know how much this happens, but we do know it does happen some, but we just can't gauge it. But we do know it happened many times in churches and stuff like that. And but we're particularly speaking about the Boy Scout, and that's so relevant. And we want to make sure that we keep a clean, wholesome life for our young people as they begin to mature.
Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly with you. It's just parental responsibility. Teach your kids. You know what I mean? I make my daughter watch different programs. You know what I mean? Where it tells about the relationship between, their mother's boyfriends or their father's their father's girlfriends. You know what I mean? Because it goes both ways. It's not just on males, but it happens, from females too. With this pedophilia stuff.
May I say this in conclusion? I wouldn't mind having a homosexual in the midst of these kids if they were accompanied by maybe 2 or 3 other men, or a woman or whatever in the group.
But to be honest,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Gays, lesbians, bisexual, transgender, most of them aren't even thinking about some little child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now,
that's the great thing about it.
I worked in the prison system, in a female's prison, all right? I read all kinds of files, you know what I mean? And a lot of them, would attest to what you're saying, okay? They were molested at a very young age, okay? I mean, by their brothers, all right, by their fathers, by their girlfriend, by their mother's boyfriend, okay, by their father's girlfriend. The list goes on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? You send your kids to church, right? Sunday school, okay? There's been cases where Sunday school teachers, you know what I mean, have molested, you know what I mean, or had inappropriate contact with these young people, with these young kids, you know what I mean? And those are the formative years, all right? Okay? And in many cases, these young kids think they did something wrong, okay? And that's the terrible thing about it, when their innocence has been taken from them. Okay. Now, if somebody tried to molest my daughter, all right, or even thought about molesting my daughter, well, I guess I would have visiting hours, hopefully, in some prison. because that's probably what would happen. Somebody would have to leave this physical earth. Okay, I mean that's how strongly I feel about it. You know what I mean?
And you know, and I'm glad. I hope people don't get the wrong impression of this discussion that we're having, because we are certainly interested in protecting the lives and the innocence of young people, no matter what form it comes in. And today we're talking about the Boy Scouts, and you have to examine all facets of this kind of behavior, or whether it's in the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or other perspectives. We believe that kids at all costs should be protected. And yet we need to give transgenders, homosexual, and all of the other people who have a strange behavior their rights under the law. But that's all we owe them.
You know, and it's not just young kids that are being molested here. Just recently, we had some coach from Penn State, all right, molesting young college students. Okay, he's doing a lot of time now, which he should have got. All right, Sandusky, that's his name. Okay, and
he's in a better place.
Yeah. You know, I mean, people like that, they need to be, molest these kids, all right? They need to be in a better place. Prison, okay? And hopefully that they will receive some of the same treatment that they was giving somebody else against their will, okay? Or even agreeable. You know, we got teachers, for Christ's sakes, all right? They're having relationships with their students. Okay, so I mean, it's just out there, and unfortunately, that's the way of life. I'm not looking at this here mildly, but that's you know, you got the internet, you got iPads, you got iPods, you got phones and texts, and I mean, you hear, you know, in all these different television programs and stuff. I mean, cartoons even, you know what I mean?
Oh yes, they're terrible.
Oh.
Ron, would it be a challenge to just invite a person on the show who believes just contrary to what we do, so we can take a look at the other side? What they believe.
Contrary to what we do in what respect?
They believe that homosexuals should be able to lead Boy Scouts.
Sure, you know, and
why don't you put out an appeal,
you know,
to have a guest come on here who could give us another version of it. And
please do.
Cross-examine it.
In our listening audience out there, if you're interested in joining In My Opinion show to discuss, gays in the Boy Scouts or in the Girl Scouts, give us a call, 734-218-2115.
We'd like to hear your thoughts.
Exactly. Okay? Please give us a call, 734-218-2115, or email In My Opinion, rbr@att.net. So, the phones are ringing off the hook. We're going to change gears here. President Obama has been sworn into office for his second term. In your opinion, what should he concentrate on his second term?
Oh, me?
Sure.
Okay, Ron, I think that the president needs to focus on, one, shoring up Social Security as a domestic part of this policy, assuring that health care policy connects with all Americans, and that the health care approaches is fair and equitable to all Americans. Secondly, he should focus on foreign policy to make sure that we've secured the peace in Iraq, Afghanistan, China, or Korea.
Syria.
And all of those
Syria.
places. And Syria, where we have engagements going on. That needs to be for us to have world peace. And while he has the authority and the power, we need to look at those kind of issues. We need to partner with foreign countries that are industrial nations to come together to create a technology where we can protect ourselves against meteorites that come within proximity of the Earth.
Exactly.
Because it is predicted that within the next 99 years, we will have a major meteor clash into the Earth that will throw dust and plunge our Earth into darkness, destroying all life. We can't afford for that to happen. We need to work at it now while we have all of the great minds out there to be working at that. I think the president should move more toward, and this is the big one, should move more toward bringing this country together as a pluralistic society so that we learn to live together. We learn to work together. We learn to share the resources. Those are critical if we are to remain a pure and democratic society.
And resolve this immigration crisis.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Our borders are porous. Okay? So let's I mean, they're here. Let's give them an avenue, okay, to become legit. All right? Because you're not going to send 11 million, or that's what they say, 11 million, but it's probably more like 20 million or more illegal folks in this country, all right, or that have exhausted their visas and so forth and so on. Let's get it legitimate. But this has been a very wonderful conversation with Mr. Henry Hatter. I want to thank our technical crew. And until next time, this is Ronald Berry Robinson and friends saying, stay focused.